everyone. This is your lecture on macro rendering. This project is to render from existing image, which is done by a Chinese artist. And we already have the image, and most of you already traced it over. So now we're going to apply the colors to it. The color is going to start from light to middle tone to dark. So I will start with some color which is really light. It's almost like not showing. So I have a piece of paper that's just next to me that I can test my color with before applying. So I'm going to apply some, I will start with the very light yellowish tone, and then I will apply some bluish, greenish type of middle tone in there, and then I will apply darker color. I will not finish the whole drawing. I will try to finish as much as possible. The first try is here. This is my first try. I'm just trying out the colors and all of that. So I'm going to start with a very light. This color almost does not exist. It's very light. It's supposed to be yellowish, but it's really light. So, okay, so I guess I will start with this one. So I will start with this color, which is PM96. So that's the name of the color. I'll put the drawing right in front of me. While you apply lighter color tone, it normally really doesn't matter if you go over the edge, because they're very light. They're very likely to be covered by other colors anyway later on. So this is the closest yellowish color I have. It's actually not quite right, but I really don't have anything that's exactly the color. So the light yellowish color is pretty much at all this area. Some area you may want to already give a little bit of stroke and sort of organize your stroke so there's a beauty to it. It's not random. For example, right here, I have one stroke, two stroke, and a little skinny one right there. And so you have a graduate change in terms of the color. So I think I'm good with light yellowish color. So I will move on to very light grayish, bluish color, which I think is this one right here is good. This one is PM193. So I will apply this color on top of. This is very light. This is actually lighter. I will need to apply more colors to it. To apply darker color to it, because that color is very light. Okay, so Let's see if I can find something light bluish color that's, for example, here, maybe. Although that color is not really exactly the same, but this color is okay. Maybe just for the first round. Or maybe just give yourself a little bit of time to think about what other colors to put in as the final color, because those light color eventually will be covered by other colors anyway. So when you apply it, you really do not need to be too stressful. You kind of still analyzing on the space and see what you actually eventually need to draw. So. So I'm drawing in the colors which is lighter than what it eventually should be, but I'm giving myself a little bit time to, to continue to understand the space, so that I lightly draw in some colors and so that I understand what's going on in there. I think this is more like the real color eventually in there, so once I'm done drawing this, I'm finished with this part also. So this is the color. There's some texture or stuff in there. And this color is also here and a little bit here also. But I think there are also yellowish color actually at the background, so I need to find a light. Actually, both are pretty dark. So I'm going to just apply a layer of yellowish color to some of the area which I think the yellow will come out beautifully when you finish. So to me, there could be a little bit more of a different variety of colors on the floor, so that it's more dynamic. I think that's pretty good for the yellow color. Actually, there's more here too. There's definitely yellowish color coming from underneath. Maybe a little bit here. Maybe even a little bit there. So the other color, when you draw another layer of color, some of the background color will come out as very subtle and beautiful. So I think there's here as well. If you need a ruler, you could also use a ruler sometimes. And also remember that you can always turn around your marker. So with one marker, you could draw something really thin, something in between, getting a little bit thicker, and getting really thick. So you could draw a range of different strokes. I messed up a little bit here. So there are eventually some totally white color still there, but most of the furniture or it's colored with some color, so only very little space. Actually, I overcolored here, but that's fine. I think there's this color also lightly in there. And also lighter color, if you apply a couple of times with the same marker, you will achieve a little bit darker result. So you could draw on top of your color and then just mix and mingle them, even with the same color, drawing another time. And when I apply my color, I normally have a strategy of using, drawing something thicker with a thicker line and the middle line and then thin line. So I have a whole range of different width of the stroke, and sometimes you put in a few dots here and there just so that your environment look more interesting, which you probably will actually see from the artwork. If you observe very carefully, there's a little bit dot here and there so that the whole thing look more interesting visually. So this color is PM 140. This is a different color. This is a PM 36. This color is a little too green in there, so I'm looking for something more bluish, but I don't think I actually really have that close bluish color, so this color is a little bit too blue almost, so I may not use this. So I'm changing to a more grayish color. Maybe cool gray, cool gray. I will look for some cool gray color. Cool gray 40. Yeah, this might be a nice one for, because I don't really have a bluish, rather the blue color, so I'm using cool gray. I'll keep this one in mind, but before I use that, I think maybe I should apply wood color and and then I'll move on because I think wood color is a little bit lighter actually than the grayish color, so I should apply my lighter color before I move on to darker color. So let's look at some of the family for wood color. This color, this is fine. This is, although this might be fine. I don't know about those colors. Let's just keep them as a reserve. Okay, so this color is fine. This is good. This is pretty much very much close to the color in the environment. So when I continue to apply this color, you realize that my first layer of yellow still came out. You will still see that yellowish, from coming out from behind. So that's why the color is more sophisticated. It's not only one color, there are a couple of colors mingled together to achieve a result. So that's a shadow of some sort. I'll come back. Oh, my background is a little too soft. I have so the paper is just a little damaged over there. So once you got one marker out, you try to use as much as possible and to finish everything that's kind of related to this color, and just keep doing until you're finished with this one, almost like finished. Only come back to touch up a very minimum. And when you draw your own work, you want to be just a little slower than my pace, because I'm doing my demo. That's why I'm doing a little bit faster than I normally do. I normally will take more time to look at the environment and really observe, rather than just quickly apply color to it. If this is my homework, I would just slow down a little bit and really look at the color and be very careful with the color choice. I think there's more here. There's more of this color, or very lightly similar color family. So I draw in. Let's see. There's definitely need to be a little bit more reddish color mingled with this color. This is still a little bit yellowish in a way. And also when you draw your when you color using marker, you want to follow the perspective, which means you are drawing according to the perspective. Your stroke is following the perspective. Sometimes this sofa from behind is kind of small, so when I try to draw it, I have to turn my marker at a different direction so that I can draw in the details. Keep in mind your marker is a very flexible tool. You can actually use it to draw a big area of colors or a very thin stroke. So it depends on your what you needed to do. If the color is a little bit darker than what I wanted, I normally draw a thicker stroke and then start to just dot it in a little bit instead of using very solid color which might be darker than I wanted. So. So now I'm looking for 40% cool gray to kind of draw the sofa and some of this grayish area, which I think 40% cool gray would work very well, and also give a first ground layer of color of this foreground right here, which this color eventually will sort of disappear, most of it, because when you start to draw the darker color, some of the lighter color will disappear. If some of the color that I cannot find, for example, this very interesting greenish color, I will eventually touch up with color pencil. So I would not worry about if the color is not totally matching. This blue is pretty close to what. And another thing you could do is you could always draw on top of what you have already done, and then to add more color to it, and it's more interesting. So by adding another layer of bluish to the yellow and the brownish color, it gives a lot of more energy to it. This color I'm very scared of using because this color is purplish and it's really saturated. But I think if I use on top of my bluish greenish color, maybe this color by itself is very strong. It's actually more saturated than my environment, but if I use on top of the existing color, maybe. And maybe I would have to eventually come back and, add in another layer of cool gray so that this color don't jump out too much as too saturated. Although this blue could still be problematic. Maybe I have already used the wrong color because I certainly don't have all the colors for this drawing, so I'm trying to mix and match the color as much as possible. So now I need to go and draw a darker wood color and see if this one is pretty. It's pretty. To leave a little bit white as reflection over there. Okay, I will continue with my demo, and it stopped halfway, so let's finish most of the demo. I'm just keep applying the color that's in the scene, and when you do macro rendering, it's better that that you draw with confident stroke and you draw it with strength. But sometimes when it comes to small part, which really if you draw it too thick, you might be losing of the details. So maybe you want to draw a little bit careful here and there, applying colors. just a little bit more carefully. And always turn your markers different directions so that you'll be able to draw something very thin. And always observe before you draw. Look at the color and look at what you're actually drawing has to make sense and what they are in the environment. If for some part you have to use a ruler, you should use a ruler to avoid. I'm not using ruler for most of it because I'm doing a demo. But if you want to use ruler, especially for some area that you don't want to go off the edge, it's a good idea to use a ruler actually. Little bit pinkish color for the pillow. Lighter. I think we have two different pinkish color. One is lighter. And if you have time, and you all have more time than me, I'm doing real quick demo, so you should, keep checking on your colors and fill in the missing color that's, I try to find some nice color for this pillow, but I think I don't really have it right now. Color is just a little bit different, a little bit off from the original color. So I think I'm going to finish. I will not totally finish the rendering. Actually, the previous one I did, I think there's more details. I did a little color here and there. So I'm really fast with this rendering now. Details here and there. Drawing those details. I think I'm going to use a 70% cool gray. In reality, when you do your work, you have more details to finish, but I'm going to skip some of the details and use a 70% cool gray to add in. There's warm gray, 60% might be useful also. Cool gray, 70%. Warm gray, 50%. This is cool gray 90%. Eventually I'm going to need to use. Yeah, so I got a couple of cool gray and warm gray out. Just so that some of the color I know for sure that I haven't totally finished. I need to add in more to it. So this is a 70% cool gray. I'm using this. There's more detail to finish to be sure, for sure that, but I'm not going to do all the details. I'm going to quickly finish the rendering by applying enough dark color to it, which I did not do before. But when you apply darker color, you also want to be very careful that you do not cover all the light color, because the light color still has to come out. If the light color disappeared, then the drawing is going to look wrong. So you want to be very careful where to apply the dark color and how you apply it. Your stroke should not go too thick so that they and if you should probably just go vertical with the reflection on the table and go horizontal when you know, and follow the perspective. When you draw, you follow the perspective. Some of the color can go a little bit, you know, like really fast. There's more color to this chair than cool gray, but I did not really apply the base color. I'm only using cool gray now. So this is a 70% cool gray. And realized when I had my bluish color before, they look really blue. But then once you applied with cool gray on top of the blue, the blue sort of disappeared a little bit. So it feels the color is getting right. And also add in a little bit of visual interest just by adding in a few dots here and there. And I also I'm still not done with all the dark color yet, because I need to eventually apply 90% cool gray to some of the color, such as this part, the shadow is very dark. And drawing all the details and all of that. So let me do my 90% cool gray. My cool gray is just a little bit dry, so that's why I'm using the thin tip rather than my fat one. But in reality, you should probably use your fat, the fat tip from the other side rather than this. But since mine is a little bit dry out, so I will show you why it's dry out. Although in reality, the artist's work also has a little bit of dry quality on the marker, so especially when you have a lighter marker applied to it. I have my 70% still not quite dry yet, so my 90% when it comes, it's blending in with my 70% cool gray, so that's very nice and beautiful. Although this one by itself is really dry, it's almost useless in that sense. normally it's not a big problem when you apply your 90% cool gray and then you come back with your 70% cool gray, which normally is not a problem because the 90% would not really damage the 70%, but would damage the 20%, because if you apply something really dark and then you apply much lighter color to it, the marker will be damaged because the tip will get really dirty. So normally for all the renderings, you always have something as dark as 90% cool gray, or maybe warm gray as well. So warm gray and cool gray will work together fine. So maybe let me get my 80% warm gray. And where's it? 50% warm gray. This is not really warm gray or cool gray. This is different color. 50% warm gray is not really proper, but it's probably fine for drawing. It's actually not the same color as the curtain, but the curtain has much more beautiful tone than warm gray. Warm gray is kind of really grayish color, and also I'm drawing really fast. But in a way, when you draw your curtain, it really should be pretty fast because it sort of has that energy to it. So it's going to be, big stroke. Okay. Where's that warm gray? 50, 30. I could not quite find my warm gray, so I'm going to continue with my cool gray. Okay, 70% cool gray, which in reality you could use warm gray and cool gray mingled together. So I think here in the darker, mostly the darkest side, that in the darkest area in the drawing, such as the details there and there, like those details here, a little bit here, and those, and here as well, and all of that should probably, if you use a gray color, mostly it's a good idea to use a gray color because they normally don't have a color tone to them. It should probably go up to 90% cool gray. So I did not finish all of the details, but pretty much there. So I have two versions. I think one is maybe even more finished than the other one. And the color of the curtain are not the same. I think one I'm using cool gray, another maybe using warm gray. Actually, you should probably use both cool gray and warm gray mingled together, but I don't have all of them. I'm missing quite a few colors. So I do have my 70 cool gray, but I think maybe the 70 cool gray is just a little bit too dark. Be very careful. I think you may want to use lighter, because this one I think is dark. And it's actually not quite correct in terms of the color tone. So I would be very careful. I think there might be different colors mingled to become the color for the curtain. So a little bit of red flower here and there. Here, flowerish, and green color. There's beautiful green here and there. I don't really have that green. So, yeah, I don't really have that green. So if the color, there are a lot of color that's not quite matching, but with patience you'll be able to, there's a probably much warmer in reality in this drawing than the 70% or cool gray, so maybe you would have a little bit of warm gray mingled with that together. And another trick to correct your color tone is to apply some color pencil that you don't have with marker. So I'm going to look for my color pencil. Do I have any color pencil in here? I really should have color pencil. Where's my yellowish color pencil? Thank you. Thank you. So I'm going to use my color pencil to very lightly, because I know some of the color I don't have as a marker, but when I apply a layer of color pencil just like this, it sort of give a layer of yellowish tone. And you could apply it like this, sort of like how you draw your drawings. So by doing that, I can add in very beautiful yellowish color tone to the general area, which I don't really have with marker, which you could do the same as the bluish color. Let's just have a look and see if I got any bluish. I do have this bluish color, and it's not sharpened. Okay, anyway, I do have this color. I could use some of the color pencil to finish the colors that I don't have, which is a very nice strategy here. And eventually I'm going to add in a little bit, let's see, there should be, the darkest tone should be 90% cool gray. And this cool gray is a little dry. Okay, so with this, then once you've done your, you might even need to add in a little bit, let's see if that's my, that's the sofa. Maybe you would add in a little bit, and the flower you would add in a little bit of gouache color, which I just have. It's dry. We want to have a little water and gouache color mixed together. It's been a while, my brush is a little bit dry. Just dip to it. Nicely mingle the color with water, and also maybe here. Carefully draw in the highlight. You really should have a little more water. The brush is tiny little dry, so there are some details that you could draw in. If you miss them, if you miss the highlight, you could actually draw in with your brush. So that's everything.